Today we are doing a reaction video to Dax's "To Be a Man," and we are going to answer how the gospel is the answer to men's mental health.
Boom.
Oh, I was still dancing to that. Hi, everybody. I'm Coach Courtney King, and I am coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. And I am the founder of World Changing Mind, as well as a pneumatologist and coach at the International Institute of Pneumatology.
Mm-hmm.
And hello, everybody. My name is Tanya. I am also one of your master mentors at the Institute. I am from Canada, and yes, we are here. and I hope everybody joins us on Facebook and YouTube.
Yes,
and we want you to pop in and say hello and where you're from, so because we'd love to hear from you.
And I am Zain El Fuego, coming to you all from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, pneumatologist and master mentor at the International Institute of Pneumatology as well. And we are here to do a reaction video to Dax.
Yeah.
Dax is a powerful song, To Be a Man. It's actually gone viral apparently.
Yeah.
And we thought that we would actually come and give our commentary.
Mm-hmm. And he's actually a rapper out of Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But this is actually a country song that he did.
Yes.
So I went to his Instagram just to kind of peruse what he's doing. So he's got some really great music, actually. It's nice.
Yeah, this is not the only song that he has that's actually turned out to be a hit.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, some of the songs that you're doing, that the raps that he does, I've seen some of them, and they're awesome, like thought provoking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this one on to Be a Man actually has about 2 remixes so far.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we have the remix with another famous country singer.
I saw that, and he's performing it at the Grand Ole Opry on March 12th. I saw that.
Yes.
Yep, journalism reporter here. I'm just kidding.
and he's also done another remix with a few artists, and that song is about 10 minutes long.
Wow!
So this is the first. Yeah, this is the first version that we're actually taking a look at here.
Okay, and I only watched it briefly, so I only saw the first few seconds, so because I wanted to be a fresh surprise as I watched it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we're actually gonna jump into this because Dax actually this song that Dax presents. This is not. We're not going to be taking a look at the whole video. For those of you who would like to see the whole video, you can proceed to his YouTube channel and see the official video.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to be doing is actually just looking at it in part and see how what he says is a reality, and how the original gospel message, not the one that most of us is actually familiar with, that speaks about going to hell, but the original gospel message, which is the ancient biblical gospel, it's actually a response to this conundrum that men all over the world are actually experiencing.
Amen.
All right, let's get into it.
Whoop, whoop.
All right, so we see someone walking down the road on his merry way.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road.
Well, that scene alone, just to start with, it's actually a scene that a lot of men could actually relate to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they cry in their cars.
I feel a lot of them do that.
Well,
I'm not making light.
That first scene too, like a lot of those parts where you don't see the guy, you only see them come home, right? Or you see them come to the door, but you never see that part where they're alone. and all that's
Right.
taken place. Yeah.
No, a lot of men could relate to that because of how the societal construct has placed this. There's actually structured this. It's actually given them or placed them in a position where they have to do it without to meet the societal validation, which is the providing and the protecting, and not show weakness whilst doing it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
basically to be a man is to do this without feeling.
Yeah.
All right.
It's funny too because I excuse me, I was talking to one of my friends today and we were just like having a conversation and I said, one thing that I want you to know, it's a man. It's a friend of mine and I said, one of the things I want you to know is I understand that oftentimes men don't have the opportunity to really express how they're feeling and express what's going on because they fear being rejected or feel like a woman might say, well, you need to man up, right? And so they don't have the opportunity to express themselves. And so
Right.
there's no open space for them. And so I think that this song is really powerful in that it's showing you from the very beginning. He said, I think I can't hide myself. And a lot of people have been hiding those emotions. And that's why the mental health is so phenomenal right now. Like it's insane how many people are dealing with like depression and anxiety and stress and they like, I don't know what to do with all of this, you know?
Yeah.
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 So it's so important that we're even having this show today because I think that giving this new shedding this light on this, but also coming from a new lens and a new perspective can really set a lot of men free.
Yeah.
Especially like there's a lot of believers too. They're like, well, you know, I'm a believer and I know God is with me. So why am I dealing with all this? And so I think that if you continue to watch this, we're going to have some answers for you.
Yes.
Definitely. Definitely.
And they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Yeah, I know this life can really beat you down. You wanna scream, but you won't make a sound. Got so much weight that you've been holding, but won't show any emotion. As a man that goes unspoken, now we.
You see that right there?
Hmm.
So this scenery in particular, which we hold as you just saw there, where we see the whole idea of the first thing that he says is all about what you provide in the home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now throughout throughout all of my personal life before I actually came into the priesthood, this was a reality.
Yeah.
Right? This was a reality that that I even saw my father struggle with all of his life that I knew him. That is something that he struggled with as well. The whole idea of being validated by how well you're providing.
And this is going to be blasphemous in America. I don't know about any other country, but the Americans are going to watch this and be like, well, that's what the man is supposed to do, sir.
Right,
That's what they're
right.
going to say to you.
Yeah. No, it's something that is actually made to seem as though that's how it's supposed to be. That's the role. And I saw before even my father before my father passed, I saw how he found himself in atmospheres and in meetings that were amongst persons that we were familiar with, some of them even family members.
Hmm.
And the comparison was strong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The person that was actually doing more providing was apparently treated as the person who was the authority. That's the person that everybody apparently is looking up to.
Right.
Now, all of this in particular falls very squarely into what we have been saying concerning the ancient biblical understanding of the scriptures, the ancient biblical perspective that the garden narrative actually speaks about concerning persons using things outside of themselves and outside of their own spirit to really get some sort of approval and validation. In Genesis chapter 4, it actually speaks about it refers to it as you getting your respect.
Right. Right.
right? And so in these gatherings, I saw how, I actually I came up in humble beginnings, and I saw how my father was a very knowledgeable person, well read in many different fields. But amongst the circles of gatherings, whether it was family or even friends, that was a constant theme.
Hmm.
And because he was seen as someone who was not matching up to what they were saying, they actually actively took a part to diminish his perspectives,
Yikes.
right? And that is something that I've seen amongst, you know, this is something in particular, unfortunately, that most men wouldn't communicate to women,
Right.
right? Because of how the societal construct is. Because
Mhm.
unfortunately, why is it going through that? Because the society actually sees us as the validation. The societal construct actually has placed this in a way where that is exactly what they're validating themselves with, is what makes them attractive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, they can't really go and open their mouth, or else zero attraction.
Yeah.
No, no,
Yeah.
I'm laughing, but a lot of men actually suffer mental health issues because of that. No, I am speaking from where I am now, and what pulled me out of that was the priesthood.
Hmm.
What pulled me out of that was coming into the understanding of what the gospel was really, and that the gospel of Christ in you is
Hmm.
actually the validation in you, and not the validation outside of you. Courtney is going to say something.
I it just made me think of, there is a trend going on I saw recently where they're saying here, I mean, it's probably on TikTok too, but I saw it on Instagram, that if you are a man and you're not making minimum $50,000 American dollars, you should not be dating, because you can't afford to date.
Right.
Like, there's all of these narratives placed on the man having this and that his sole value has been
Yeah.
placed on what are you making? Because if you are making nothing, you cannot do A, B, C, or D. And that is a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot on the ego, which is to your ego is when you're performance in the performance realm, and you feel like you have to
Right.
meet this standard that has been established by society. And unfortunately, that is driving so many men, again, like I said earlier, into depression. And many women will talk down to a person who isn't making minimum 50, and 50,000 is the minimum, by the way. Like, you can't,
Wow.
really, the ideal number is six figures here. I don't know how it is in your countries, but here
Right.
it's like, if he doesn't have six figures, he cannot date me. And it's just
Wow.
like, it's established this system of entitlement as well, which
Mm-hmm.
also just even creates, I know we're talking specifically about men today, but it just creates even this atmosphere that's really kind of ugly when it comes to the women as well. So I can see why a man feels like he has no support, because in order to be a man, you have to have the money, or you're not a man. So
Yeah.
that takes a toll on you when your entire identity is established on money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, she wants to be in a relationship with your money and not with you. You heard it here first. You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here.
There,
Yeah.
there was one thing that I did notice within the video about
Mm-hmm.
the father taking a drink. Now, when the mental crisis goes up in
Mm-hmm.
his heart so much, he wants to escape from that. And I've witnessed sometimes that in my own personal life, where they would escape to whether it's alcohol, or they'll go and do drugs, or they'll go and play long hours of, let's say, video games,
Yep.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
things like that,
Yeah.
just to escape the reality that I have to provide for my family, and nobody sees how it affects my heart.
Yeah.
And it's it's really sad. And then eventually, if they're into alcohol, it becomes worse and worse, and they spiral worse with not even bringing it up to the family or bringing how they feel in this area. They're not able to open it up. It spirals to the point where there's probably domestic abuse. The family gets in arguments over money, specifically over money, specifically over, it could be taking care of the kids, or all this stuff that piles up even more on the guy, thinking, oh no, I have to take up this responsibility, what's going on, and it becomes very violent. So.
Poor men. Oh, man.
No, that in particular is actually something that I can't even say that modern psychology has actually been able to lay their hands on it, to place their finger on what really is the case here as to why these people are actually struggling with this addiction.
Yeah.
And some men actually stay in addiction for years until they spiral out of control, as Tanya is saying. And some may actually step into domestic abuse. Others may actually start to consider taking their lives.
Yeah.
Right? And all because what they're actually using to validate themselves, what they have been taught, society has actually taught that they should use to validate themselves. By not having it, it's an immediate disqualification for recognition, respect, or any type of approval.
Yeah, it has to do with insufficiency. You feel like you're not sufficient enough. And so to mask the fact that you have to deal with that, then you turn to these different vices.
Exactly.
If you feel like you're unable to serve in a particular area, I can tell you this. If you feel like you're not able to serve in a particular area, according to this standard you've been taught, you are hiding behind something.
Yeah.
You are using something
100%.
because that's what the Bible calls naked and ashamed. You feel naked and ashamed. So you're like, well, if I'm not able to serve here, then I'm going to do this. And that could be with sex. That could be with, like you said, alcohol. That could be with drugs. That could be with video games. It could be with women. Now you have a whole harem. That's not funny, but it's funny.
And when we actually even take a look at what takes place within the home, like Tanya was actually saying there, they end up in domestic abuse. The thing is, according to what we have been able to identify in scripture, is that whilst most men are actually taught to provide and protect, women are predominantly taught to be validated by being chosen.
Yep.
Which means they're now looking towards the man to feel validated. This is where the conundrum starts, because whilst women are taught that you look towards the man to be validated, they can't listen to anything that is coming out of the man's mouth without judging it as to whether it validates them or invalidates them.
Right.
Yeah.
So now most women may say, and I see it all across the social media, most women may respond with comments that really technically diminishes the value of what he's saying, because their system of intelligence is based on the validation of the man. And so Dax actually is very accurate when he says that he doesn't expect you to understand. And it's not that he is diminishing women. It is a simple reality that the culture has actually framed men to use provision and protection as personal validation, and women are taught to use the man as personal validation. So with that, she does not have a system of intelligence that enables her to hear anything that is being said, because it's actually being used to actually validate her or invalidate her. So now the battle starts, as Tanya just says, because he can't communicate and say anything that is truly on his heart, and she is actually using anything to feel validated or invalidated. And when she's not validated, then she begins to diminish him for not validating her.
Speaking on that topic,
three jobs.
Speaking on that topic, Zane, when you're saying the validation part, now if there's not being validated at home, like, because he's searching, right? He's searching for something to that he doesn't even know. Like it says in the video. But also, if he's at work, he's putting his all, and it's the same thing. If he's at work and he's putting all his knowledge, all his expertise at work, and nobody is validating his good job, there's more that's piled up on him.
100%.
They're always
100%.
looking in the workplace because competing against one another. Look how much I can. Like, guys are cool when they hang out, but they're not cool when it comes to look at my job, and nobody's recognizing their skills, or nobody's recognizing how hard they work. So they come home thinking they're going to get it from the wife. Unfortunately, she's on another plane.
She's on a different system of intelligence.
Exactly. And he's feeling, again, all that loneliness, all that, there's nobody validating me. I've done this, I've done that. I have to keep this family together, all this stuff. And nobody sees me.
Yeah, that's right.
And this
excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
Right,
I wanted to say something according to what you said, but I didn't want to cut you off. You mentioned trying to bring my thought back.
Right.
Come on, thought. And so I also think we should point out that we're not calling women stupid.
No,
because that's not what we're doing. I want to make sure that that's not what is flashing before you when he said that. But women are given a different set of priorities or a different mindset given. It is inculcated into us. It is not from the Lord necessarily, right? This is passed down from tradition in England when you had to be validated to be chosen to be somebody's wife. We've now brought that into the Americas, and I'm sure other countries as well. So we have given the man a priority. We have given the woman a priority. Based on your priority determines what your logic is. If you have a doctor and you have a lawyer, they have two different systems of logic. So it's not that one's not intelligent. It's the fact that they just function in two different realms and they have two different outlooks on a situation. And so when you are dealing with a man, he has a different thought process and a different priority because of what it was poured and what was demanded is that you have to provide, you have to protect. And on the other side, you have to, as the woman, be chosen by the man, you have to keep the home and all these other things. And so because of that, when you are unable to reach that standard, you begin to feel naked and ashamed. You begin to feel insufficient. And so therefore we have the mental health issues once again that people are dealing with. So
and the dependencies.
Yeah, a lot of codependency.
So let's get back to our video.
Yes.
Give a little bit more.
Can't cry when life gets hard. Unconditional love for women, children, and dogs. We know that we nobody give a damn about our broken hearts. Yeah, as a man, we gotta pay for our way. Our only function is to work in the slave.
Oh,
so you're saying that?
Not slaves.
The
not
three things
slavery.
he point out there.
Okay.
Number one. Number one is he's actually number one. He's speaking about nobody actually cares about the broken heart. Now, for men, both men and women experiencing this, because of the different systems of intelligence.
Correct.
The guy, because he is not able to be heard. He has to actually meet this criteria of validation. He has no outlet to communicate.
Yeah.
To communicate when he may be feeling vulnerable or something like that. And then the ladies in particular, when she's looking towards the husband and he is not doing something to give her the validation, then she feels unapproved, not enough, and she's actually locked in that position as well. And you see women. I've seen comments on social media where women see the video, and then they retort, well, women go through that too. And it's because nobody is actually being able to identify what the ancients of the scriptures have identified thousands of years ago. This is all a struggle with your point of validation. what external point of validation are you using? So he
Mhm.
mentions broken hearts. He says that this is something that I think you've heard comedians say as well, that there is no unconditional love, only for women, children, and dogs. And that is something that is
Never
something in
heard it.
particular that I think it's Chris Rock that actually said that in one of his shows.
Mhm.
And that is the reality for most men, because if you look at the psychology that we have today,
Yeah.
I've always said the psychology is inclined towards the ladies.
Yeah.
They will actually try to explain the ladies' conundrum, but you don't really see the psychology actually giving that attention to men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this song, I think, is probably the first song that I have heard probably in my life that actually spoke about what men really experiencing.
There's this
And I'm
one.
speaking about
Yeah.
decades, we're speaking about of men that probably and have actually taken their lives
Oh, yeah.
because of that.
Yeah.
They've taken their lives because of that, because they are actually under a pressure, and the society doesn't even acknowledge the pressure. They just, you need to actually do this
Yeah.
like
There's
a
this
slave.
one part just before you clicked off the video there, where he says, "Am I just here the slave? Am I just a slave?"
Our
that's
only
probably
function is
one
to
of
work as a
their,
slave.
yeah, that's probably one of his reference points that men deal with. Like, am I just here for this? This is all I'm capable of doing?
Yeah.
Slaving and taking care of family, and that's it. Maybe that
And
that could be the highest point of the logic or
and
the thinking.
well, that's the thing, is that most men find themselves in a position where, because of the pressure or the expectation, let's say the expectation that is placed on them to meet the societal validation, they end up having to take on jobs that pull them away from their family,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they have to pull away from their family, which means they can't spend the time with the family that they would like to.
Yeah.
And many men have to settle for a life where they have to take on a job that provides sufficiently for the family, and that means that they spend the rest of their life not being around their own children. And when they get home, the children see them as strangers.
Yikes.
And then
Sorry.
and then there are many homes where that is not understood. It's not even acknowledged. And then, because the ladies functioning from the perspective that they're looking for the validation from the men, they don't even acknowledge that when the guy reaches home, now he has to actually take on another set of responsibility, which is to make her feel validated before she can actually treat him like a human being.
It's true.
Right? That's a reality for in a lot of homes.
If you
And
have a man, go hug him. Go hug him right now. Stop what you're doing, sis, and go hug your man. He needs a
indeed.
hug.
And I have encountered that in circles of coaching, because there are people that are actually in marriages, and they have no idea that this dynamic is running in it.
Yeah,
They have no idea that this is two different systems of intelligence are actually working here,
it is.
and both parties feel incomplete because both parties are taught different sources of validation.
Yeah.
People up to 40 years in marriage and still can't figure it out. Yeah? So again, the ancient perspective of the gospel is what really pulled us out of that. That we come into freedom concerning those things.
Amen.
Freedom's on its
And
way.
we continue.
Sure, let's continue.
Yes, yeah.
There's no respect for you if you ain't paid your debt.
Yeah, that
I
no
heard
respect. That's the same word that is used in Genesis 4. Looking for respect.
Disregarded as a human, and you can't complain. And if you ever make it up and actually reach that place and find a woman that you love and give her your last name. You'll feel the things that you provide is only why she stays. And when you try
She
to
wants you for your money.
Wow.
She is in relationship with your dollars.
That statement right there.
Because if
That is
you
a
lose your
statement right
dollars,
there.
you lose her. If you get,
You
and
lose
that's
her.
what sometimes I want to tell my guy friends that I love. First of all, I love being treated well, right? You know, all that.
Right.
But
Right.
there are some people who have poor character, and I feel like a lot of guys are just like tossing the dollars, and what they're attracting oftentimes are women who are only with them for their money. They're not with them for their
Right.
heart. They're not with them for their character. They could care less. They don't even like that person. And then they're trying to figure out, well, what do I need to do to make her da da da? Honestly, if you don't have the money, she's not even staying. I just feel like it's so ugly and so gross and so disgusting to be in
Mm-hmm.
relationship with somebody solely for their money. And then when they don't have it, you're trying to figure out what's going wrong. Ugh, the issue is she was
There's
never in
nothing
a
wrong.
relationship
Yeah.
with you in the first place.
Yeah. It's actually really
Sorry,
sad.
guys.
What?
What you're saying,
It's so
Courtney, is
sad.
really sad. It is. If you're standing back and you're actually in God and watching all this happen, like somebody mm, taking advantage of somebody because they have money,
So
you know?
No, you know, but before I came into understanding that the priesthood of Christ was validation on the spirit in you and not anything external of you,
mhm.
Yeah.
this was my constant preoccupation as a man.
Mm,
Not that sometimes
Oh,
I would meet, sometimes I met women,
mhm,
and the women didn't seem as though they were there for money. Some of them,
mm.
okay.
but because the even though they're not showing that they're there for money, they still have the societal inculcation programmed into their mind that when we get married, you have to provide. So all throughout my teenage years, 20s, 30s, before I came into the priesthood and understood this, understood what we understand now, it was always a concern for me that there was no way for me to find out if the woman was with me, for me, or if there was some sort of alternative or some ulterior motive, because in the
Mm.
back of her mind she may see me as someone who has the skill set to provide for her. There was never any certainty
Hmm.
before I came into the priesthood. There was never a way for me to be able to identify whether or not this woman really loves me.
Do you have checks now where you can check that a
Say again?
person is with you? Do you have checks in place now? Like, what are you looking for so that you know someone's not
100
with you? What are you doing?
100%.
Tell
The
us.
first
Tell us.
the the
You get some
the
free coaching,
priesthood
guys. Pay attention.
the,
Sorry.
the, the priesthood of Christ reorientates validation of people by any external priority and to validating them by spirit.
Hmm.
And the best way to really identify the spirit that you're with is to actually identify, number one, if they show any integrity at all. So a
Mm.
relationship generally is that we have agreements. If you cannot show integrity to those agreements, I immediately see who you are.
Kick rocks.
And number two, most importantly, and this is where I'm able to identify whether you're there for the money or not.
Pay attention.
Number two is that you are an equitable woman.
Mm,
Hmm.
mm, mm.
That means in simple
All
things
right.
like we go somewhere, and whether it's a decision to be made or um, something. This might sound hilarious, but it's true. It's a test that never fails.
Uh-huh.
one, if we have to make decisions and she's making the decisions for her benefit and not for the team consistently, red flag. Number two, if we have one thing to like, it's so no, I sometimes might just make the decision to purchase this one thing for the both of us to eat from. It could be something small, and she doesn't think about, hey, being equitable with that, red flag.
Like if I eat more of the popcorn, she's out of here. She
Right?
ate all the popcorn.
No, you see, that act comes from the perspective that a man has to provide.
Mm-hmm.
It's generally from that perspective where they believe that, so they give themselves the priority because you are to provide. Now, they may not be doing it right at that moment, thinking about it, but the logic has been structured based on that.
Yeah, over time you'll see it.
Over time, you'll see it. And the third is, sometimes most people in society don't know that it's coming from this as well. I buy you food, I buy you food, I buy myself food, and you reaching into my box.
I knew you
That
was
might
going to
seem
say that.
cute,
Eating off the plate, entitlement.
right? Even though it may sound cute, it does. It sounds cute, but it's also another flag of someone who actually sees you as, well, that's your responsibility to provide, and therefore I have the freedom to benefit.
I've
I'm
never
not
heard
saying
of
that
that. But cool. Okay.
a woman
Tanya's over here
shouldn't do
eating off
that.
her husband's plate. I'm just kidding.
No, I've never done that. No.
I'm kidding.
Now, get this. If that trustworthiness has been established and you do that because of trustworthiness, then there's a different scenario. Like we trust each other that much, and therefore because we trust each other that one, we see each other as a team, that's a different scenario. But if
both
off the
of our
get-go,
plates.
right, it's both of our plates. But if off the
Share it.
get-go, you start that, red flag. I don't
Just
see
met
that.
you,
No.
and you eating all my popcorn. Kick rocks.
Wow.
Bye.
That's amazing.
Get out of here. Arrivederci. Sayonara.
And it even shows in communication. Like if I'm speaking to a woman over the phone and she is cutting me to get her perspective over the phone, red flag.
She's prioritized herself.
I mean,
Amen.
cutting
She's
you off?
prioritizing herself. Yeah. Like she's cutting me off, or she's trying to speak over me, or she's actually trying to get her point across above mine. Red flag.
She has
Lack of
centered
equity.
herself. Mm-hmm.
Before the priesthood, it was very difficult for you to know that. And I know that even coming out of the circles that I came from, as a man, no man that does not know where we know really knows for sure if his wife really loves him. Unless they have gone through some sort of hardship and she stays. Without that hardship, he has no way of identifying that.
And that could just mean she has nowhere to go.
100%.
What? Say that again?
Nowhere to go, so I'ma stay in this hole with you.
Yeah.
With you. I made that song up, guys. That's
Courtney's
on my new album called "Got Nowhere to Go."
It's not funny, but it's just making everything funny.
Laughing.
And most men hearing this will actually attest to the fact that they put a ring on our one finger.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to me. Even the proposal process is placed on the man. So the way that the man proposes to the woman, the man doesn't know if she's responding by the societal pressure that she has to respond to. Wow. He doesn't know. He never knows because there's no aspect that gives the woman an equitable part in the process.
I know you will not let a woman ask you to marry her, say. I know you wouldn't. Would you?
I am not saying that I don't want you to take on that pressure. I'm not saying that either one should take on that pressure. What I'm saying is that because of how the construct is put in place.
Right.
The
Uh-huh.
man is the one that is given that responsibility, and
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
he has to make the first move.
Yeah.
He has no way of actually identifying whether this woman loves him or not, because there is no part in the process that gives her the responsibility to demonstrate that she wants to be there.
So what do you recommend?
Whether I am actually not putting any pressure on either party to do that, but why can't two people come together?
And
Why
agree?
can't two people come together and agree?
Yeah.
Erobo sharararasa kerere.
Like it's yeah, you don't have to do a whole show of it. You just in secret, you like in secret by yourselves. Talk it over. What do you think about marriage? What do you think about, you know,
These are
and then come
conversations
out with it, you know?
exactly
It almost
conversation that
looks
should
like,
take place.
you know, when a couple has they're going to have a baby and they have a revealing party, right? They came
Right.
together to have that revealing party. Well, why can't it be like that with marriage?
So that's one. And number two, I'm not placing any pressure on either. But what
Gotcha.
is wrong with a woman proposing to a man if you reverse the process?
I'm not saying
Why?
anything's wrong, but I have heard men say that I guess because of the societal norm, they're like, she better not. She better not. Like it's
Well,
embarrassing.
so they are
Here.
Yeah,
using that.
Here.
That's because they are using the societal validation, and if this, and
right.
that is societal validation, and she does that, it takes away
It's
the
manhood.
prov- exactly
Yeah, right.
Give it
Yeah.
to me.
right, which
Yeah.
means that his masculinity is tied to him being dominant.
Mm,
Mm.
He's the dominant one because he has to protect. So obviously, in that system, if a woman does that, there's a problem. I don't suffer
Mhm.
from that from that conundrum. I don't have that problem. I'm not using protection.
Okay,
mm,
I
okay.
have. I know for me that I can
Mhm.
provide. Number two, I can protect. So
Right.
I don't suffer from that. I don't actually use that as validation. The moment the priesthood reoriented that here, what now validates you is your integrity and your equity, which means you have a responsibility to show your trustworthiness before I trust you. And it also means that if you are actually interested, that you have a responsibility to demonstrate interest so that I can know that you're interested as well, and not that I need to be dominant. And because I need to be dominant, you need to you just need to receive. I don't struggle with that.
So it's
So
not that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go ahead.
now just saying, I hear the men that say that. I
Hmm.
understand where they're coming from, but I don't
Yeah.
have that struggle.
mm.
That struggle does not exist with me. For me, show what you are or hit the road. Because I
Get,
am not
get
giving
out
you,
of here.
I am not responsible. I am not responsible. I am not responsible to try to prove you. When I arrive, she is not trying to prove, she's not giving responsibility to prove me. I had actually show myself based on the societal norm anyway.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
So what I hear, as if I don't know what you're saying, I'm gonna pretend I don't. Maybe I don't. is
Right,
is it's not that we're taking the responsibility away to protect
right,
and provide. No one's saying
right,
don't protect your woman or don't provide
right.
for your family. Nobody's saying that. We're
100%.
saying
One,
it's not your identity and it's not what you're using to determine whether or not you are a person of worth and value.
Yes.
What you're
exactly.
using to determine that you're a person of worth and value is the fact that you are a person of integrity, not only to your own self, but you're also showing integrity to others and you're also equitable toward others.
Yes,
So you want to do what's
exactly.
just and fair. And if you are always treating everyone just and fair, and you are always honoring yourself, not belittling yourself based on what someone else is saying, then you
Hmm.
always have your value, even if you have $49,000 in the bank, 40,999 instead of the 50 that you need in America today. That's all I'm saying. That is it.
Right.
That's
Then you could
cute.
have 20,000 a year, and if you want, you guys can just go for a walk in the park.
Because if you look at it, if you use integrity and equity to actually identify what you have at hand, somebody
Hmm.
who is integrous will not betray the agreement, and somebody who is equitable will always do that which is best for the team.
Always, yes, always.
Yep,
You understand?
it's the
So
two. It's both our
right,
plates.
it's a lifetime we spending together.
Yeah,
Right? And any man would want to know that the woman that he has really loves him, just as a woman wants to know the man that she has really loves her.
Yeah.
that's right.
But,
That's right.
but unfortunately, the criteria for the man to demonstrate that he's competent is elevated. And
Yeah.
so the man sitting down there don't know if the woman would actually take the next man who have the dollar more in the bank, and she going across the river
For a dollar. I'm gonna leave you for a dollar.
for a dollar.
You know, that is so funny because um we will spend so much time, not us, the three of us don't do this, but we will spend so much
Right.
time as a society concerned about what our family thinks, what our friends think, what people at church think, that we won't even take the time to say to each other, what do we want our own kingdom, our own realm
Right.
to look like? How vulnerable can we be here? How much can we talk to each other? And we have this system that we help people do that, to determine how close you are to a person. We call it the circle of trust, and we teach that as coaches. And so, with the circle
Right.
of trust, you know that God is your spirit, right? Your spirit. But then next to you should be your spouse, and that's where a man should be able to talk about every single thing that comes to his heart. He should be
Yeah.
able to express it without judgment,
Yeah.
because it's part of his kingdom. And so he needs to be able to speak to his queen
Yeah,
about so forth and so on. So
that's so true.
hopefully people are getting through this, from this, that shift your mind from external things, things that can be seen, temporal things, to what is eternal. And that is where your true value is. And I think actually, as I hear people watching this or feel people watching this, they're gonna be like, that I hear what you're saying, but nobody's really going to be able to grasp that. So I don't know. So you might have to sit with that a little bit, because people might be like, yeah, it sounds good. What do you say to those people, Tanya or Zane? Like, it sounds good, but I hear you.
For me,
For
I would say
me,
just
go
go
ahead. Go
ahead,
ahead.
Zane. For me, I
No,
would
you
just, my first thought would be is to be by myself in the moment and think and observe my life where it is now. That would be my first step. Is to stop, think about where everything is, what's going on,
Yeah.
and have an internal conversation with yourself.
What results have you had based on what you've been doing?
For,
Exactly.
for me, for me, it comes down to questioning: am I an equitable person? Because
Mm.
if you are an equitable person, then
Hmm.
equity demands of you that you consider a dynamic that is just unfair to everybody. If you actually write that off and say, well, I hear what you're saying, but then
Mm.
note note to yourself that you are a self-important individual.
Mm.
Simple like that.
Kick rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here.
All right, so let's continue the song. You know.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Let's go.
Explain, you'll say I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand.
You see the case here? Look at these truckers. Some of them taking up that job because that's the best job that can provide what they need, and they have to spend all of that time away from the family because of the expectation that's placed on them on society. So they could be seen as good husbands or good fathers.
Mm.
And these guys can't actually say that they miss their children, or it's the society children and say, yeah, man, you're supposed to feel.
I just hope I can explain what it's like to be human. It's lonely roads, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Don't give up, keep fighting. As a man, our
See that?
sun is our
You hear
horizon.
that statement? As a man, your sun is your horizon.
It's a
So
bop. I like it. It's a good.
it is a good song. It's a very good song. A song that has been able to articulate
Mhm.
a lot of issues in one, just in a few minutes. A lot of components of this
Yeah.
issue in just a few minutes.
But you were saying, as a man, our sun is our horizon. You were
Mhm.
going to say something about that?
And our father's actions play a role, and we end up like them. So they can't let generational curse.
Say again?
Oh, you had brought up that it
The
said,
one the most
as a man, our
so
sun.
depressed. All the things that they can.
Go ahead.
Is there a delay?
There's got to
There
be,
is a
yeah.
delay. There is a delay.
It has. Okay, it has to be a delay. Go ahead, Pastor Zane. Move forward.
You're basically saying your sons. It was saying your sons are horizon, right? So
Can't
if
express.
your son
They
is
go to
watching
war, get
you,
thrown on the shelf, to go back to war. They mental health. Things that they're gonna have to do with themselves. It's the circle of life. As a man, you provide. They don't know what you're worth till the day that you die.
See that statement right there?
That is so sad. When?
Look at the statement. They don't know what you're worth till the day that you die. Now, personally, I remember a very specific time. Personally, this is just personally here. Personally
Yeah.
expressed. I remembered that this song woke up a lot of memories with my father.
Mm-hmm.
How my father was a very well-read person, very knowledgeable, could help in many different areas. And because the societal construct and
Mm-hmm.
even the religious construct to an extent placed the validated one as being a man by being able to provide. I
Mhm.
saw how everybody around him, even his own family, to a great extent, diminished his value and diminished his perspectives. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Treated him as though as the singer says at the beginning of this song, treated it as though he was not worthy of having an opinion,
Mm.
and he was not enough. He was not sufficient. He was criticized, not just diminished, but criticized
Yeah.
heavily, both directly and indirectly. Treated as though he had no value. And the day that he died, I saw the same people turn around and start to talk about how good of a man he was. And the first thing that came to my mind was, what hypocrites.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody saying how good of a person he is. And we wait until they die. And that's when you see your value. But when you're alive, he was not treated like that. And I watched that. And that caused me to question, who the heck am I around?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is what you were doing all along. Like literally antagonizing him.
Yeah.
And then he dies and everybody's saying he's a good man. Good man
Wow.
what? How? What you talking about? You and the person saying that last week
Right.
or a month ago. So that statement alone, it just brings back these memories that I saw with my father.
Yeah.
And also listening to this also shows, kind of reminds me as to how distant I am from that reality right now because of the priesthood of Christ.
Yeah.
And one of the things that these songs actually do is actually remind me of the struggle of others, whilst I might be sitting in peace because of what we know. This is not this is a genuine struggle for those outside
Yeah.
of the understanding of Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
There
God sees
was,
your value in your spirit. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah.
the spirit. Yeah.
But there was one
Mhm.
part too, Zane, earlier. Courtney was talking about it where it said, your son is your horizon.
Yeah.
You know, if your son or your son, basically the boy in the house, watching their dad go away for so long, he's going to take up the same perspective. So it's almost like
100.
there's a repetition going to happen over and over and over and over, where does the cycle end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what he said. They take it up like a generational curse,
Yep. It does say that.
right? Like a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
See, yeah.
That's when they start crying. Then move on to a man to confide in. We don't expect you to understand. We just hope we can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road.
Now he's saying notice how he's actually saying that it's a lonely road because
Mm-hmm.
of that same perspective. That this is something that you're dedicated to, and you can't really speak to anybody. And most of the times, this is why, like amongst men, respect is such a big thing
Mm-hmm.
because all of us is like clans. Whatever your point of validation is, remember from the garden, you come amongst your
Yeah.
trees,
Yep. You with your kind.
right?
Yeah.
And so amongst that kind, there's a common understanding of respect because it's the same system of
Standard.
validation that they're using,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so most men end up finding other men because of the same point of validation to confide in, and not their wives or those around them, because they
Which
have a
is funny.
different system of
Sorry.
validation.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Which is funny because it's the wife you're supposed to be cleaving to. Like that's the person you're supposed to be of one mind with. We're supposed to have one system of logic, which is how two people become one mind, one
Yes.
spirit. That's a synonym. And so when you have these two system of logics, that's why the divorce rate is so high, because we're not on the same page, because we're using all these different systems and priorities in order to decide what our life should look like instead of from the integrity and equity of our hearts.
Yeah. And this is why in Christ,
Yep.
there's not that is not supposed to be a problem, because in Christ, when you come into Christ, Christ is supposed to be the priority,
Yep.
common priority, common standards. Yeah.
Common decisions. We don't have issues like that because we came from the same mind, same decisions.
That is now you're among your clan.
Not your husband as your clan. Amen.
It's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside that home. Inside that home.
Sorry, I was
It's not about how we
Right.
feel.
That'll bring us to the end of that song.
But if you guys want to check out
So-
that song, it is on YouTube. You guys can go and further listen to it if you'd like, whatnot. Even because ours wasn't like, if you got the choppy side of stuff, you can go look there in YouTube.
Right.
It's called To Be a Man.
Yes.
To Be a Man by
It's about
Dax.
your mental health.
All right.
Sir,
so I
you
just
are
wanna-
not your money. Amen. Come on. You are not your money.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Don't be stingy though.
And I just also want to give a huge shout out to Dax, if ever Dax ever come across this video,
Listen
for
to
the
him.
song that he
He'll
made.
watch it. That's how he
Yeah,
posts
and,
people's stuff when they talk about his stuff. Let's send it to him.
Yeah, I see that. Huge shout out to Dax, and I want to say a heartfelt gratitude to Dax for actually having the courage to put out the struggles of men out there. And we wish him all the best on his success with this song and others to come.
Amen.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our reaction in Trans Biblical Spirituality reaction.
Two
If you'd like
thumbs
to
up.
get to know, if you'd like to get to know more about us, go to the International Institute of Pneumatology.com, as it's written at the top of the screen, and you'll get all the information as well as links there, so that we can get to know you a little bit as well. Blessings, much love.
Peace. Thanks for
Boom.
watching.
Bye, everybody.